So private cloud, which has often been, seen as in opposition to public cloud, we see is really changing. And it's really now being seen more as a complementary part of the total cloud portfolio. Having said that, the challenges have been that enterprises are and continue to discover that building and running a private cloud in their own data centers is very difficult. It's hard to sustain. They have challenges around having the right skill sets, around doing effective capacity planning. And so the big development we see is twofold. One is more pre-packaging of the hardware, the cloud OS, and the managed services to deliver into a facility. Equally important is customers really wanting to move to a more hosted private cloud model. So they know that they can get faster deployment and setup if it resides in a service provider, managed service provider's data center. So we see absolutely a shift from on-premises to off-premises, but still dedicated resources. And then following on with that, increasing desire to link those public cloud or those private cloud resources with public cloud facilities they may also be using. Not always infrastructure, but SaaS. So if they're leveraging software as a service, how do they link that into their private cloud environments is where we see a lot of customers asking for better solutions and management right now. So the question of, where does Huawei have some advantages in the private cloud conversation? I think one that will be evolving over time is, as their own commitments on leveraging OpenStack in their public clouds and their hosted private cloud environments, and then extending that into customer locations, that you have a common foundation. And we find that customers absolutely, for sort of the orchestration, provisioning, resource management conversation, want that to increasingly be common across all their cloud environments. So that's a step where I think Huawei can bring some good benefits there. The other thing which we find more and more important with private cloud is connectivity. Is that being able to have agile connectivity between those assets and resources and their existing data centers and any other services they may be using, it's one of the biggest barriers to successfully running and sustaining a private cloud environment. And if you can, leverage more efficient software-defined networking and connectivity, the types of things that Huawei brings a lot of expertise in, you have an ability to more effectively take advantage of your private cloud. So when it comes to getting the private cloud up and going, we see a lot of variation across the different regions. But in all cases, it really comes down to three big issues. So the first is connectivity. How reliable is the network links between your existing data centers and all the customers or all the sites that you want to reach? And if you're in an environment or a region where connectivity is maybe not as agile, not as scalable as you'd like, then you're going to have to disperse your cloud environment more into edge locations. And you're going to want a solution that can do that well. The second, on the other hand, if you have very good connectivity, then you're going to want to sort of concentrate your resources so you can get the most effective scale, and so balance that. The second big requirement really comes about availability of data center facilities. Many cases, enterprises, we find that one of the biggest stumbling blocks to private cloud is their existing data centers really can't accommodate the assets, that they don't have the space, they don't have the power, they haven't aligned it well. And they can be much faster if there's a co-location hosting facility that maybe a service provider is offering. So if they have availability and access to those resources, they can be much more agile. So that's something to pay attention to as you look at that, is understanding not just your own data center assets, but potential partner assets that go with it. The last one, which we see varies quite a bit, is about people. It's about, do you have the skills, or do you have access to the skills, the right people who understand how to operate a cloud environment, how to sustain it? And in some regions, there may be availability of staff and people. In others, that's a very short supply or it's very expensive. And so you're going to want absolutely to see, are there partners who have good managed services capabilities or who provide private cloud solutions that are very much self-running and automated. And both of those are really important values that customers need to think about given what's going on in their specific region.